Fruitful Living with Sissel Anderson. Here on Morning Joy, where truth matters.
Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and very excited for two things. First, Sissel, it's your birthday. Happy birthday. She's so excited. She's so thrilled that she's speechless that it's her birthday. But we're also going to be talking about discipleship and living fruitfully.
Oh, I appreciate it.
There we go. Yes, Happy birthday. That's exciting. Once again, so excited. But yes, we're talking about living.
I don't think she can hear you.
With discipline.
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Loud
there we
and-
go.
There we go. I think we switched over to another device. I could hear you and I could hear me, but apparently I was just having a party alone.
Well, welcome back. And yeah, happy birthday. And I'm excited to talk about discipline.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I'm excited. You know, I honestly did not realize until a few weeks ago that I was going to get to come on to Morning Joy bright and early on my birthday. But, you know, it's great because birthdays bring about some great, thinking and pondering about the spiritual life. So I kind of thought, let's connect all the dots today. Because if you think about it, Keith, we're in, what are we, like 8, 9, 10 weeks into ordinary time?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember what they said at Mass last week.
8.
7?
Yeah,
Only
you're right.
7? Oh, okay. 8. Okay, perfect. So we're in ordinary time, and we're in that really long space of ordinary time. We're almost halfway through the year, which is crazy to think about. And I find that when we're in the middle of that ordinary time, it's really, really easy to not reevaluate your spiritual life and how you're doing. Because in the first part of the year, we have Lent, and in the last part of the year, we have Advent. So it's a little bit hard when you're in the middle of the year. But thankfully, my birthday falls in a great place for me. So I get to reevaluate every year, like, okay, this last year, did I, really grow spiritually, or was I kind of just being very, what's the word when you're not moving?
Stationary, static.
Stationary, very static in my prayer life and my spiritual life. So, it's really a fun time to be able to kind of evaluate that, and specifically about discipline, which is a word that I sometimes want to hide away from because I feel like I could be one of the worst people at discipline sometimes. I don't know. Keith, how do you feel about discipline? Do you think you're a pretty disciplined person, or are you a little bit chaotic like me?
Here's the thing. I need more discipline to work on discipline, and I don't know where to start.
Right, exactly. I'm like, where does one get the discipline, though?
Right.
And it's really unfortunate because I do think some of it does have to do, I think, with how our brains work. We're all so different, and some people definitely just naturally are more disciplined. My sister, she's like the most disciplined person, especially growing up. Now that she's older and has a lot more things going on, for sure, maybe she's not as disciplined. But growing up, she was stellar. And then I'm over here just stumbling out of bed, brushing my hair and calling it a day, and she's got a whole morning routine. And I was like, oh man, we're not the same. But there is such beauty in discipline. I think discipline gets a really bad rap these days because we're kind of especially when you relate it to spirituality and you're relating it to the faith life, because there is this idea that discipline takes away, I don't know, the beauty of the faith life, that it is, because we want to say okay, I want to pray to God when I feel like praying to God. I just want to feel that connection with God. And, I just pray all the time, which is beautiful, the idea of praying all the time. But then we realize maybe we don't actually want to pray to God most of the time. And so it kind of is a disconnect. So when we relate discipline to our faith life, we're talking about that God calls us to be disciples, and the word disciple is kind of in discipline. And he's calling us to do a lot more than simply just as we're feeling. We have to be able to set up that time daily to be able to talk with God, and we have to order our lives in such a way that we are actually setting aside time to be with God. And it's something really, really difficult for all of us. And we don't want to have to go down that path. It also means like the more and more you get closer to God through prayer life, less and less you're going to want to do other things. And you're going to be more disciplined to like, well, maybe I don't need the 3 cookies today, or I don't need to go off and do this item or whatever. And I don't need to be on my phone this long, which is really lovely. But it's really, really key discipline to being a disciple. Don't you think, Keith?
I would say so. And it also helps because, commitment to discipline is important as well, because I've gone down this road where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to discipline myself to pray this novena, this particular devotion. And I like add this huge list of things that sounds great at the time, but then you're trying to execute it and you're like, I overcommitted myself to all of these devotions instead of just keeping it simple.
Oh, 100%. I am one of those people who will be like, wake up one morning, or honestly, I'll have it in the middle of the night. I'm like, it's starting tomorrow. I am going to fix all the things, and I'm going to get up early. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to drink lots of water, stay hydrated. I'm going to go to adoration an hour every single day. Going from 0 to to an hour, right? And there's something really that is a danger, because that's not really building up the discipline the way that you should be, because discipline takes time, and that's the thing. We don't like to wait. We don't want to have to put the work in. I think a lot of athletes will understand, you don't become a star soccer player after 1 year even of soccer. It takes lots and lots of practice and running drills every day, and it's we don't want to do that. But the spiritual life is like that. You have to show up to your prayer time, to mass weekly. I mean, we all hopefully at least have that discipline of going to mass every single week on our holy day, our obligation on Sundays and on our holy days. But it's that in between time that really, really is hard. And I'm reading a book right now, and I think most of us in the GRN are, because it might have something to do with our share-a-thon, so stay tuned for that in a few weeks. But in one chapter of this particular book, the author was talking a lot about, Tim's got it there, he's got it there. One of the chapters is talking about just showing up. And how beautiful that is, because kind of like you're saying, Keith, you're wanting to go from like 0 to 100 really quickly. You want to try to do all these devotions, whereas most of the saints will say, and really, really holy people will say, like, no, start small and do it. Don't be wishy-washy. Don't say, oh, I'm too tired. No, say I'm gonna pray for 10 minutes every single day, and do it. It's not going to be maybe the most profound prayer in your opinion. You maybe will sit there and have literally nothing to say, or maybe you're going to sit there and have a whole bunch of things to say to Jesus. You're like, it's been a day, let me tell you about it. But it's the simple act of showing up that is the holiness in that. And the Lord will work on you no matter what condition you come to that 10 minutes of prayer. But protecting that is so important and so, so beautiful. But it's really hard. It's very, very hard for us to make that commitment. Now, I will put out there, as a young adult and who lives in this generation, we're really, really good about making sure we have time for the things that we really do care about. And sometimes, unfortunately, and I can say that very confidently for myself, it's not always been faith. I'll squeeze in those 20 minutes to watch my TV show. I'll squeeze in those 20 minutes to go, on a walk or whatever it is that I want to do. But 10 minutes to God, I just don't have time. I don't have time. And this is the part of growing up. On my birthday, I'm going to say this, is that there is a time where you just have to say, does this matter to me or not? Does my faith life matter to me? And until you do that, it's going to be really hard for you to set up that discipline, especially if you're a less disciplined person like myself. But you have to just say, how important is this to me, that I allow other things to constantly, get in front of it? And then you have to, and you may not have it immediately, but you do have to, you can ask the Lord, say, give me more faith and give me this desire to speak with you more, and offer that up to him. And he can so beautifully work with that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, do I really need to stream one more episode of Battlestar Galactica? Or I could just, maybe devote little of that time at bare minimum to prayer. And it could be, Julie Carrick put it really simply and beautifully last Friday. the sign of the cross is a prayer in itself, and to slow it down and to really focus on what we're doing, that in itself is a prayer. Or just having things like, the holy face right here that's next to me. Alan Smith is very much a proponent of that, who's also is on our Thursday segment. Things like that, just making sure you have something that you can look at and maybe take a moment. Maybe you're working, maybe you're in the office, and you do have a crucifix. Maybe you have your rosary, and just looking at that and just taking a moment, even if it's a quick moment, spending time with Jesus in that moment can help. Maybe get you a little bit closer to that discipline of devoting, like focused, devoted time to prayer.
And it's once you start doing those sort of things and you make your whole life more ordered towards God, it's super helpful to protect that time of prayer that you have daily. When it's like you hear an ambulance going and a siren and you actually like stop for a second. Okay, if you're driving, maybe don't stop, but like you take a moment to pray for that person, or you passing an accident, or you see a cemetery, a church, all those things where you're really ordering that God first and everything else is secondary. And that is kind of what helps us with that being a discipline, being a disciple of Jesus, which is what we are all called to do. And I would just encourage everyone, again, Debbie and Adam were talking so beautifully earlier about, falling and how Satan doesn't want you to really get back up again. So if you do fall and, fail in, your spiritual life in some way, or haven't been really active in prayer life, just get back up again. Because that is what the devil wants. He does not want you to get up again. He wants you to feel like you have failed and there's no way to recover from that. And that is the farthest thing from the truth. So just show up to your prayer, show up to your devotion, show up to Mass. And that is so important, and God can do so much.
Amen. And that's I'm glad you brought it back with Debbie and Adam's segment there, because it's so true. I go through all these devotions, got these, and then I fail, and I'm like, well, what up now? I'm just going to stop. Like,
right.
you just want to stop.
Yeah, if you miss a day of novena, doesn't mean you stop and start the novena over. Just continue the novena. 9 days is 9 days. It doesn't matter if there's 10 days in between it.
That's right. The important thing, like you said, is to pick up and keep moving. Move forward, as Dave Vacherez always says. So, my goodness, thank you so much, Sissel, for joining us. And once again, happy birthday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah, of course. And we can also catch you as you're on the producer for Back to the Father every Friday afternoon, 1 p.m. Central on GRN Online's YouTube channel. You're also the host of Young and President Dallas. So very excited to see those this week. But that is the end of our first hour. We really appreciate your time that you spent with us so far. And if this means that we're we're parting ways with you this morning, maybe you're dropping your kids off at school, maybe you're at the office already, hey, God bless, and thank you for listening. And you can always catch more of Morning Joy on our social media. So if you want to watch the entirety of the show, because we have a whole second hour coming up next, search GRN Online on YouTube to see the entirety of it. But if you're hanging on with us, we're talking so much more. My goodness, we're talking about an IVF healing center and so much more. But if this means us parting ways once again, God bless and make it a joyful day. We'll see you right soon here on Morning Joy.
This has been Morning Joy, where truth matters, hosted by Keith Downey. Take some joy with you today. Visit grnonline.com/joy to listen again, share a segment, or answer the question of the day. That's grnonline.com/joy.